the gold medal round of the 156-pound light middleweight division. Roy Jones, the 19-year-old from Pensacola, Florida, going against Park Si-hun of Korea, from Masan, Korea, located in the south of the country. So Jones will attempt to beat him with the jab. Major problem concerning Roy Jones, keeps that left low as a result.
Well, Park has the distinction of having the worst jab of this tournament. He just waves it out there. It's this very strange jab, and he's straight up, and that means that he's going to get caught with jabs and right crosses, as Jones just demonstrated. Remember, Jones has superior speed, technique.
I figured I'd start this off with, in my opinion, the biggest ripoff in sports history. Roy Jones Jr. versus Park Han in the 1988 Olympics.
Park is fighting extremely slowly, almost as if he's dipped in molasses here. He's just very deliberate and trying to figure out how to get in. In the meantime, Jones building up points, peppering him with multiple punches. There's one.
Referee Aldo Leone of Italy. And Jones has come out very active. There's Roy Sr.
And those are point getters. They're all landing. Those two punches just landed flush.
And again, finishing off with the left hook.
Not the biggest robbery in relation to a money payoff or nothing like that.
No, one guy's super fast, the other guy very slow.
Holding caution. Called on Park. Oh, what a counter by Roy Jones.
You could see
hitting, along with heavyweight Ray Mercer, winning gold medals. Michael Carbajal losing out of decision. And Roy Jones has opened up in strong fashion against Park Si-hun.
This guy is bewildering. Jones is just bewildering in his speed.
But the biggest theft in sports history in regards to how blatant and obvious it was.
Jones now has the left hand down low, showing confidence. Took his opponent a little bit more seriously in the first round.
You got to go back to Sandy Saddler, Willie Pep. You got to go back to Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard to see this kind of speed.
Although the crowd reacted to the right by Park that grazed Jones.
A standing eight.
Yes, a standing eight being handed out to Park Si-hun.
Every time Park threw a punch, he got hit 2 and 3 punches in return, right on a button. That's what that standing eight was all about.
Roy Jones beat this man. He beat this man like a... Park might as well have been one of those speed bags.
Never seen nobody do that, hey.
You're still the best one.
The fight wasn't even close. Park didn't stand a chance to win at all.
Well, Park's got to feel desperate now. He's got to try to put out Jones. He can't get close to him without getting hit 30 punches. Oh, that hook was so hard, Leone just about took a full step in to stop it.
Again, Jones staggering Park. And that is it. And Roy Jones of Pensacola, Florida.
Well, if he doesn't win the gold off this, then I think there's something rotten in Korea, because that is absolutely one of the most dominant things I've seen.
The winner is on point 3-2 in the blue corner.
Well, there it is. Park Si-hun has stolen the belt. To discuss matters with his boxer, there's Roy's dad, and that is very difficult to figure. We're told the judges are from Uganda, Soviet Union, Morocco, and we're checking out who the other two are.
But anyway, now I'm sure that at least some of y'all have heard this stuff going on about Asians being targeted in various forms of violence.
They've also contacted authorities. This is what unfolded inside a local restaurant last week.
Oh my God.
out of here.
The contents of this cell phone video, too shocking and explicit to play in its entirety. But the person recording, Hong Lee, captured a terrifying encounter with a customer inside El Torino's restaurant last Monday. She stopped in to grab lunch when she says this patron asked her to dine with him. She politely declined and couldn't believe what happened next. A barrage of verbal attacks, both racial and sexual.
I'm sorry, can you help me?
Yeah, help
It's getting
her.
very,
Help her
very
go back
abusive
to
now.
Asia.
We were all just shocked that this was happening. Tanya!
Lee, who was inside the restaurant by herself and too afraid to leave, called a friend on the phone, sobbing in disbelief. You hear either a customer or an employee in the background trying to de-escalate the situation, but things got even worse.
My name is Frederick Douglass Smith.
Lee said this customer starts approaching her again in a violent manner, blurting out not just a name, but what he said was his social security number and date of birth, even daring police to come after him.
Can you help me, please? This is getting really scary.
Nobody ain't gonna help you. Police can't do in front of me.
I also heard from LAPD that there's a significant increase in the amount of hate crimes, especially against Asians, since the pandemic started.
After sharing her story on social media, Lee soon learned there was another alleged victim. This mother, who didn't want to reveal her name, but says she also had a violent encounter with the same man seen in Lee's video at a bus stop last July.
You don't forget his stare, you don't forget his voice. I immediately knew. It was chills down my body as soon as I saw that video.
This alleged victim, who was waiting for the bus that day with her child, said that man approached her, trying to engage her in a conversation. She claims when she blew him off, he began hurling racial insults at her, making disgusting sexual comments, even allegedly threatening her with violence.
The next clip I'm going to play is from September 2019. And it's one of the previous occasions where I've pointed this out before. Taz likes to pretend not to know why people classify him as one who plays the victim card.
I mean, let's just be real. If the world blames white men for where we are today, if they can hold them accountable for where we are today, why exactly do you think you have an argument against me when I do the same goddamn thing? You can't get mad at me when I tell you what the United Nations said. Every other study any other time is relevant. But when we start talking about that oppressor, the people's minds seem to start slipping. I don't know what you're talking about, bruh. Why you always blaming white supremacy, bruh? Well, it's not a blame, it's an actual fact. But if we just deal with the simple part of it, why should I blame me for where we are if we know goddamn well it's the force working beyond us? Help me change the dynamic here first. Then we can start talking about what else is going on.
You even heard him say that he does the same goddamn thing, which is to blame white people for everything. But he claims not to understand why people would classify him as a player in the victim game. We're going to look at a card that's often played by these artificial pro-blacks called the fallacy of relative privation, which basically mean, oh, but that's not as bad as. Let me show you what it looks like here.
So, what we see here is a person that dug up the LA riots, right? And they're trying to use this as a narrative that, you know, listen, man, they're not victims. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you talking about an incident in LA. You got to go back 30 years to dig this up. Meanwhile, the things that police do to black people every day, we're not supposed to talk about.
With pictures of it on the screen, still says Asians are not victims. Then the relative privation. But black people are beat by cops every day, he said. Or in other words, what Asians go through is not as bad as what black people go through. One of the reasons to use relative privation is to negate or dismiss what someone else is going through. Sometimes, you know, like in this case, to make yourself the center of attention. These hoteps like Taz get jealous when they see other people being featured. And I've done a lot of videos about this and used many different examples years before Taz was around. This relative privation is a typical tactic and all too common practice among hoteps. It's to make oppression and being a victim into a competition, not as bad as.
You know what I'm saying? They push their history on their pages, man. Don't nobody say nothing, man. And again, we got to realize, man, we moving into a transitional period where some of this stuff is about to become a real problem, where if you don't get in front of it sooner than later, these people will literally be your victims, the biggest victims in America. Because that's what I see them trying to become.
How depraved in the mind can the person be when you see it as a threat to not be seen as the biggest victims? You heard him warn people, said, hey, we got to get out in front of this thing before they replace us as the biggest victims. But this is a man who has complained about people accusing him of playing victim. He don't understand that, but he even playing the victim when he's seeing something that's happening to somebody else. He says, hey, what about us? Don't forget about us. This is an example of what it means to be in a state of victimhood. Racism, when racism becomes your identity, when it becomes who you are. But you heard him say the biggest victims in America. Because like I said, they make it into a competition. You heard the man. Sounded like he feels we're being robbed. And of course, he's not the only one, and he's far from the first one. He's not even the worst one. I remember when Bill Maher once referred to Asians as the unsqueaky wheel, meaning we barely hear a peep out of Asians in this country. But as soon as they make a sound, people like Taz panics, and the squeaky wheel is the wheel that gets the grease scenario.
There's no attempt to heal the community. You know what I'm saying? And so, in the very least, understand that these people are trying to heal their community through a victimhood narrative. They're trying to heal their community with a victimhood narrative. Let's check it out. Another video. Asian woman is robbed and attacked in Oakland. You see it? They making this about the woman being Asian. Now, you live in America. I don't believe people are specifically only targeting Asian people. You leave your car sitting parked in the middle of the street, and then you get robbed or carjacked in that situation. That could be anybody. That could be anyone. And sadly, they're able to use these narratives now that we like to use against each other. It's crazy. So now this is what they're building around. This is what they're building their arguments on. If it was about carjackings and shit being the worst thing in America, man, please. I mean, damn, dog, like for real. If I'm not mistaken, Ray Caruth had his baby mama killed like that. That same crime, the same way. I don't get why we're making it sound like these are new circumstances. Black women have been attacked on the streets just the same way. But there's a hyper focus on this group now.
Again, man goes out and fuses Ray Caruth and black women to what Asians are going through, and tries to lessen or negate what they're going through by saying it don't only happen to Asians. It's a competition to people like him. And I tell people all the time that these counterfeit black power people get all of their examples of what we should be from looking at non-black people. You know, what's good behavior, what's bad behavior, whether we're poor or not. Non-blacks are used as their barometer for determining where we are in life. Now let me play for you the most pathetic thing he did in this video.
Now listen, man. That type of crazy shit right there, that could happen anywhere, man. But they want to be victims so much. Now, we don't see no race of no suspect. We can't tell nothing from this distance. That might be an Asian robbing an Asian. They don't care. They don't care. I mean, it might sound staged, it might sound fake. I mean, these aren't black people though, man. You know what I'm saying? These ain't black people, man. Like, but you know what I'm saying? I don't, you know, it's a lot of excessive screaming and shit, man. But these ain't black people. They're not gonna react how we react. I'm like, I just want to know how you know who this is. I mean, how do you know?
The man even compares the screams of those two Asian women to black people. You heard him say that black women wouldn't react with all that excessive screaming. That's how far they'll reach for the relative privation, to make the world all about us. But you heard him again trying to negate what they're going through. He called it excessive screaming. Well, that could happen anywhere, he said. And all the other ways he struggled to dismiss these incidents. And it's crazy how these people, these black power people, will cry these rivers of tears about how America neglects black people while they themselves exhibit that attitude of not giving a damn about nobody else's reality. They want the world to care about black people while their attitude is fuck the world and fuck what other people are going through in it.
9 Asian-owned businesses have had their windows smashed in the past 2 weeks in Oregon. Wow. You know what? I'm not trying to downplay y'all plight. You know, that's pretty fucked up, you know. But there have been nights where 9 black-owned businesses have had their windows smashed in an hour, okay? So I'm not receptive to this conversation happening right now until we deal with the one that started 100 years ago, when black men came back from World War I, fighting for this country, trying to start businesses, building up businesses, and your community went and tore them down 100 years ago. Excuse me, not their community, of course, but the community that props them up, the white community. So it might as well be their community, but nonetheless, 100 years ago, this was happening to our black-owned businesses. 9 an hour, I would say. 9 businesses every 15 minutes were being destroyed by white America. That still ain't been straightened yet. We still digging up history on this. See what I'm saying? So it's impossible to start the new conversation with Asians who have an attitude when the things that we have an attitude about still ain't been straightened. But that's why I'm telling people that look like me to chill out with downplaying our plight, because everybody else is moving into what you would call that victim narrative. I'm thinking that we might need to pick up on the victim narrative. We might need to be playing Karen in America at all times. I mean, at some point, we got to realize that that's what they doing, and they finna benefit from it. They're using the victimhood to not only grow platforms, but to gain acceptance.
But that's not as bad as 9 black businesses getting their stuff destroyed in 1 hour, he said. Then suggested that we should play the victim card so that we could benefit from it like Asians is doing. But this is the man that rejects it when people accuses him of playing victim, though. He also pretends not to understand it when people call him a race hustler. But he does understand it when he be over there calling people like Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed and others race hustlers. He calls other people that, but when it's his turn, he pretends that there could be no race hustling because racism does exist. But how digressed in the mind can you be to see an assault and to be like, hey, what you doing with that beat down? That's my beat down. Why are you giving it to him? That's mine. I've played clips before of Taz and many others saying, hey, that racism right there, that's ours. It belongs to us.
It's not fair. Why'd I get the smaller half? Why'd he get the bigger laugh? Why can't I have a pet giraffe? It's not fair. Why can't I have curly locks? Why can't I have my own box? Why does she get brand new shoes? Why does my team always lose? It's not fair.
When you want to define oppression, according to what happened to black people, that's a victim state. Like you tell me you got robbed and they took $100 off you. I say, oh man, you ain't got robbed. I got robbed 2 months ago. They took $600 off me. You ain't got robbed till you lose $600. And some of y'all have heard me describe these people as spirits of disorder. Because a disorderly spirit is all it could be when you see it as a theft of black identity when non-blacks is on the news getting robbed or beat up by the cops or something. And the ones who you describe as our oppressors, when you see them looking at other people, Asians in this case, you feel neglected. The oppressors is not paying us enough attention, you feel. But this mindset that he and others of his ilk have is that of a victim who has accepted their role as the underclass. He calls himself black first, but complains when he sees us as not being the least in America. Him and his wife, Nyla. Sleep and eat, I'll call him. She does the same thing he does and vice versa. Sleep and eat. Like their ilk. They see black people, they see being black as a disability. Two minstrels masquerading behind the banner of black power. It's just a hustle to you flimsy replicas of black power. And no, y'all not gonna come straight out and say it.
How are these motherfuckers, this Purple bitch, this Kenny, this Stark, all them motherfuckers saw what happened and they sit over there and they let this bitch say it and act like they didn't know what happened?
Yeah, that's why I kept this shit away from you, dog. I don't feel like hearing you talk like that.
Just get on my clothes and just go somewhere.
Well, no, I mean you ain't gotta get pissed off now. That's what I'm saying. It's over with now. It should be okay to listen to, man. Calm your ass down, dog. This shit, we won, dog. Like damn. You know what I'm saying? This is a victory lap. We won. These motherfuckers lost. They on the L. Like you act like you ready to go do your own set of videos now.
I am. I'm ready to fire up and drag all
You ain't the GOAT, dog. You get on here and start acting all crazy and wilding and cussing and shit. You gotta be calm and present the receipts as if you're presenting a documentary. And then when you're done with that, then you drag them. So how long is it gonna take you to get your shit done?
I could just go right now and just cuss every last one of
You
these
just wanna cuss,
ass.
huh? You just wanna cuss some people out. This is a business. This is a business over here we running.
I gotta give content. They better be glad, you know. They better be glad. Yeah, it's fuck all of them people. Y'all talking about Taz disrespect? I'm gonna show y'all disrespect.
This is the funeral. Calm your ass down,
No, I'm
man.
gonna start grabbing each
Yeah,
bitch.
start wilding out at a funeral, man. That's always one nigga at the funeral, man, that start wilding on some bullshit, man. Sit your ass down somewhere on the back pew, man, and enjoy the service, man. See how soon as the godly music go off, man, motherfuckers start wild. Satan came right in here and turned the whole thing upside down. Now I tell you what, it's time for the collection plates. Get the collection plates out of the because I ain't got but one cash app since this motherfucking shit started. Goddamn it! I'm running the church over here today. This ain't Jap Church. This is the GOAT Church. Hit the motherfucking cash app. It's Friday. I know you niggas ain't broke. That we got to get to this bread. Excuse me. We got to get to this funeral home. Because you know how the preacher do it. He can't never just tell you like, hey man, we trying to get this money. You know what I'm saying? He got to sell you something different. Like we all going to heaven, man. Hit the cash app, man. God bless you. You know what I'm saying?